If you're new to video editing, I'm going to give you a quick beginner's guide to using Adobe Premiere Pro. So without any further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so we've opened up Adobe Premiere Pro. Now this is our home window that we will be presented with when we first open up Adobe Premiere Pro. So here we have a new project. So this is to create a new project, which we're going to do in a moment. Now, if you already have a project opened, or that you've worked on, should I say, you can open the project here and then select where the project is stored on your computer. Here, it gives a list of the different timeline sequences that you might have worked on in the past. So it will tell you like when you opened it up last, and the size, and the kind of project that it is. So what we're going to do is create a new project. And also, just before I do that, just to let you know, there's also a tab here where you can learn new skills as well. And there's sync settings here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a new project by clicking here. This window pops up. Now, what you can do is first name your project. So we're just going to call it tutorial. Okay. And then here you select where you want the location. So if you press browse, then you select the exact location that you want it. So let's just do it to the desktop for now. We'll create a new folder. We'll call it tutorial. Okay, create the folder. Best practices, we'll create a folder inside that folder and call it project. Okay, so this is where we'll have our Premiere Pro projects. Okay, so now that is where the projects will be saved. Okay, so with this, we'll just press OK. And now Premiere Pro is open. So when you open up Premiere, you have this kind of blank slate. Now it's very modifiable, so you can change it as you wish, but you have your tabs up here. Here is the editing tab. So this is where you're going to do most of your video editing. You have here your color tab. So this is where you'll do different color grading or color corrections. You have your effects tab. So that's for different effects you might have. If you have templates for lower thirds, that will be created here. You've got your audio. So that's when you want to do some audio mixing. You got graphics here. You've got library here. And you've got assemble and learning. Okay, so that will be where you'll find different like things that Adobe will teach you about Premiere Pro. We go to the editing tab. Now in this window here, we've got the project window here. So just by double clicking, you can import any media source that you need. Okay, so if I double click, now it opens up the window. So from here, we can now select what we want to import into Premiere. Okay, so then you can select what clips you want. If you hold down Shift, you can select multiple clips and then just select import. And it will import your files. And now you have your video files inserted into Premiere. Now, best practices, if you want to, you can create bins. So if you go to this icon here, you see it says new bin, and it will select a new bin. So this is basically a folder in which you organize your footage, your audio, your graphics, etc., whatever elements that you're using in Premiere Pro. So we're going to call this footage. And we're going to place all our footage into this bin by dragging it in. Okay, so now we have our footage here. Okay. Now, to begin a timeline, you can simply just take this clip here and drag it on to the timeline tab here. And now a timeline's been created with the resolution and settings of this specific clip itself. Okay, so I'm just going to mute this here. This button is the mute button. So if you want to mute a track, you press this, and now there's no audio. If I unmute, you can hear the audio. If you've got multiple tracks and you only want to play this audio track, if you press this button, the solo track, it will only play this track, okay? The audio from this track, okay? Right, So now you can see if we go back to the project bin or the project tab, it's created a timeline and it's called it what our file is. So we're just gonna rename it. BJJ stands for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So another way to create a new bin, if you right click on the project tab, you can go to new bin here and the new bin is created. I'm going to call it sequence, or sequences I'm going to call it, because you can have multiple sequences. So I'm going to drag that in here and I've got my BJJ sequence here. Okay. So if I just mute that quickly, right, okay. So here we have our clip. Now with these clips, we can actually label them as different colors. So as you can see, this is a blue color here. But if I want this clip to be a different color, all I need to do is right click, go to label, and I can change it to green. And now you see here, this box has changed green. This clip here, if I right click, label it, change it to magenta. Now we have a magenta clip here. So any elements that I drag onto the timeline here now, you can see the different clips by color coded. Okay. So that just makes your timeline a little bit more organized. Now we have different multiple tracks on the actual timeline, or different multiple clips on the timeline. We can begin editing. I'm just going to mute these tracks just so you can hear me talk. Here we have the video 1. This is video 2 and video 3. Okay. So if I drag that up onto video 3, I can put all these different clips onto this layer here. Video 2 on this layer here and video 1 on this layer here. Okay. It's the same with the audio. So if I want the audio from this first clip to be on audio 1, so I can keep it here. This one, I want the audio to be on audio 2 or A2. And then this one, I can drag this down to A3. So now we've got 3 different audio tracks. Okay. With this clip, as you can see, when you press play, it plays this clip and then it will go straight to video 2 and cover this clip. And then if I continue playing here, it's now showing what's on video 3. Okay. So what we can do as well is if, for example, you want to show multiple clips, you select the clip that you want. So if I want to reduce the size of this clip while still playing this clip, if I select the clip, go to this tab here, which is the effects control. So this is basically where you control the parameters of your clip. So the size, the scale, the opacity, etc. Okay. So if I go to the scale and reduce it from 100 down to 37, I now have a smaller clip within a clip. Okay. So you can see the clip, the master clip on video 1 is playing underneath video 2. Okay. So if you were doing like a reaction video or you're a gamer and you want to show your face cam, then you can easily just create the face cam here. Now under position, I can move it by moving these parameters here, these numbers here, the X and Y axis, into a different spot within the video. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to delete this and I'll show you another way to import video onto the timeline. So if I double click onto this video here, you'll see that it now appears in the source window here. So if I just scrub along, I can preview the video in this window. Now, if you go to this icon here, this is the mark-in icon. So it's going to select the starting point in which you want to have your video start, or the video that you want to work with on the timeline. So if I select this, it's now created an endpoint here. If I scrub along and then say I select this here, the mark out point, shortcut is O for that, and the shortcut is I for the endpoint. So now you can see here what it's done is it selected my selection has been selected for what I want to work with. So you can simply use the cursor and drag it onto the timeline, and it will bring the audio and video clip onto the timeline. So you can have it here or wherever you want it, okay, on the timeline. Okay. So again, if I delete that, I can bring it down here, and we can now work with that clip. Alternatively, you can also take this clip itself, and if you only want to work with, say, the video, you can use this, using this icon here, you can drag only the video. So if I drag that on, now only the video shows up, okay? Alternatively, I can also only drag the audio. So if I only want the audio from this actual video clip, I can just drag on this icon here, and then I can work with just the audio track, okay? So if I unmute it, then you'll hear just the audio, okay? So that's the basics of just working with clips in Premiere Pro. But also, actually, I'll show you some more. So here you've got different play icons. You've got different icons. So you can play the clip using this button here. This one to backtrack 1 frame. And that to go forward 1 frame. Okay. With these, this goes to the in point, and that goes to the out point that you've selected within the source window. Okay, so I've selected what I want in this source window here. Now, if I want to insert a clip in between here, what I do is on the timeline, move the cursor to where I want it inserted, go to this icon here that says insert, click on it, and now it has put the actual clip that I selected here, the in and out point I've selected here, has inserted into this actual timeline here, okay? So it's now created an edit in between these two, between this clip, okay? So if I undo that, and if we go to overwrite, it will now overwrite that clip, okay? Okay, another thing you can do is actually export a frame. So from this source window, I can export a specific frame. So if I select an area, let's just say this, okay? So if I select this specific frame and I click here, I can export a frame, okay? So I can call it what I want. I'll just call it Cyborg. That's Cyborg featured. Okay, and you can choose the format, so you can make it a JPEG, an MPG, or whatever still format you want to work with, okay? If you hit the browse, then you can select the area in which you want it saved. So I'll just do the desktop. Also, if you click this icon here, then it will import it into the project. So if I press OK, it's now created a still frame image of that exact frame of the video. So I can work with that in Premiere. So basically, if I click the edge of any clip and stretch it, then it will stretch out the actual clip. Okay. Basic tools. So this is the selection tool. You have this selected to move your clips around, or to drag the playheads in the position you want. Okay, so if I select this is the track selection forward tool. So if I select that, you get these two arrows that pop up on the timeline. So if I click, it now selects everything on this side of the timeline, and I can now drag everything simultaneously across the timeline as I wish. Okay. This is the ripple edit tool. Okay. So this is to kind of move the clip along. You have your razor tool to cut the clip. Okay. You have your slide tool here, and this basically scrubs the clip. So I can see different time codes in the clip. If I hover that and click and hold and scrub along the clip, okay? You got your pen tool. So this is for doing fine things like audio editing. So for example, if I want to pull up my audio, if I select the pen tool, I can create keyframes here. If I go back to the selection tool, I can move the volume up and down, and it's created a keyframe so this hasn't been affected. Okay, and here is your audio file or your audio waveforms, so you can see a visual representation of the audio in this clip. Okay, this line, as I was saying, is controlling the volume, so you can see this number in dB, which stands for decibels, and that's just reflecting the volume at which this clip will be played. Okay, this is the hand tool. Okay, here we have the text tool. So if I select that and then click up on in the scene, I can now write whatever text I want. Okay, so now it's created a graphic here, and this is the length at which your text will appear on the screen. So if I click off here, you can see it's off. As I play, then now it appears. Okay, so you have your text graphic here. Here you can change all the different parameters of the text. If you select the text itself, go to Effects Control, and then you've got the position of the text. You can change it here. You can change the scale. Okay, the rotation, all these different parameters. If you click on text here, drop down box. So to change the font, what you do is just highlight by double clicking on the text, come to source text, drop down box here, and then you can change the font. So let's just change it to this. Oh, okay, that looks a bit funny. We'll change it to this. Okay, now we've got different fonts. Okay, and within here you can change the size of the font. You can change the color. So if I click on fill, I can change it to say blue, or let's do yellow. Press OK. Now it's yellow. If I click on here, I can add a stroke. If I click here, just go to black, create a stroke, and this number here just increases the size of the stroke. So if I move it up or down, we now have a stroke here. Okay, so if you want to color correct or do color grading, what you do with the actual clip selected, we can go to color, and now we are presented with this tab here. Okay, now here you can change the color temperature of the clip, make it warm or cool, the tilt, so it can go from magenta to green. You can change the exposure, underexpose, overexpose, the contrast, highlights, shadows, blacks and whites, saturations if you want to make the image more saturated here. And you can also input a LUT if you want a specific color. So LUT stands for lookup table. So it's basically specific looks that you want. So that's more of a color grading. You'll do most of your color correction here. Okay. Within here, the creative, you can create more of a look, add some more vibrance, some saturation, tilt balance. Again, you can add LUTs here. The color curve, this just changes the exposure as well. You can change the saturation curves here. So this gets into a bit more advanced color grading and color correction that you can do to your clips. Okay. Also here you've got the color wheel and match, so you can change the colors of your shadow, the midtones, and your highlights by moving this along the color spectrum. Okay, and then this just changes the intensity of the midtones or the highlights that you've changed. Check out this video on how to export a video using Adobe Premiere Pro, or check out this video you might enjoy as well. Until next time, this has been Asten Regis, helping you tell your story through video. Peace.